Welcome back to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. May is National Mental Health Awareness Month, and depression, that's feeling sad, empty, or down, feeling nervous, worried, or scared, those are serious medical conditions that may occur during pregnancy or after birth. My next guest is experienced in dealing with issues impacting the Milwaukee community when it comes to improving childcare, health, safety, and a whole lot more. Pat Batemon. She serves as a community strategist for the Lifecourse Initiative for Healthy Families. How are you, Pat?
I'm good. How are you today, Andrea?
I'm doing well, and I certainly
Great.
appreciate you being here. First and foremost, for those who may not be aware, tell us more about the Lifecourse Initiative for Healthy Families and how you serve the community daily.
Well, let me say first, thank you for having me here. It is great to be here, and I'm thrilled to talk about the Lifecourse Initiative for Healthy Families and what we've been doing here across Southeastern Wisconsin relating to the issue of infant mortality. So the Lifecourse Initiative was developed to reduce infant mortality in Milwaukee, Racine, and Kenosha. And many may know or may not know that Wisconsin, we're number one in the nation when it comes to infant mortality. We have the highest rate of infant death in the country. And so Life is a strategic effort in partnership with the UW Population Health Institute, which is funded by the Wisconsin Partnership Program. So Life addresses chronic stress in the experience, particularly in systems and services of African American women. And we have been doing this work. Life has been around in different, several iterations for, I'm going to say for the last 10 plus years.
Okay. 10 plus years, that's a long time. And when you mentioned that this was specifically developed to reduce infant mortality in Milwaukee, Racine, and Kenosha, that is extremely important. When we look at statistics, the Black infant death rate is 3 times worse than the white rate in Wisconsin, and it's getting worse. As a matter of fact, in 2015, as you mentioned, Wisconsin had the worst Black-white infant mortality disparity in the U.S. And you said that we are right there at number 1 in the nation. Black infants are more likely to be born preterm and with a low birth weight than white infants as well. So in your opinion, why do we continue to see this pattern and these numbers?
Well, I think that, we have to be very transparent and direct and talking about the impact of racism and systemic racism and its impact in our community. And, not surprisingly, when you look at the state of Wisconsin and you look at how we are, one of the most segregated, communities, across our country. And so it should not be a surprise that when we look at systemic racism and its impact, and we're beginning to know and talk more and more about how racism impacts the well-being of African Americans across our nation. And so, of course, poor birth weight, infant mortality would fall into that as well. So we cannot address this issue without addressing systemic racism.
Wow. And that says so much because we know that systemic racism goes across the board in dealing with policing, education, healthcare, and here this, of course, line under the umbrella of healthcare, but it affects people in so many different areas of their lives. And so when we talk about systemic racism and the amount of stress that people have from different things happening in their lives, whether it be economically or dealing with injustices, whatever the case may be, it definitely plays a role in the mental health of individuals. So the mental health of mom is what I wanted to focus on today, because obviously when you look at low birth rate and infant mortality and these things, then stress and other factors are definitely adding to those numbers. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And when we think about, stress, everyone experiences stress. But when we think about and look at stress, chronic stress and its impact on African American families, that then we're talking about something, different. Chronic stress, leads to, those health issues, like heart disease, high blood pressure, depression, and so many other health conditions that are impacted or caused by chronic stress. And then again, connecting that and seeing how systemic racism can cause chronic stress when we're looking at African-American families, and particularly African-American moms.
Yeah, so when we talk about stress, that's one thing, but then also talking about some of the things that pregnant women go through before and after giving birth. You have postpartum depression, and then you have just really during this pandemic, I'm sure the stress of, trying not to be sick and really trying to keep your entire family healthy and in order. And
Yes.
all of these things really have changed the course of how you look at just dealing with life in itself. So what have you been able to do specifically during the pandemic to help women deal with those particular scenarios?
Well, one of the things that we have done, and one of the reasons why we're here with May being Mental Health Awareness Month, we thought this was a perfect time to kind of revive our Strong Moms Are Covered by Strong Villages, campaign. And the goal of that campaign is to reduce stigma of maternal depression among African-American moms and to give voice to mothers who are suffering and to empower the village of support to cover the mothers impacted by that. So when we think about, maternal depression, it doesn't look or feel the same way for everyone. And when we particularly think about mental health in Black women, it's primarily largely, ignored. And so many African-American moms, suffer in silence, and they feel isolated. They suffer from depression. And although there is help available, so it takes a village to provide that support, resources, and to empower African-American moms who face this devastating impact of depression. And the village covers the mom through support and empathy. And so the reason why we did this campaign in the first place is that we heard throughout, for the last couple of years from moms that have participated in some form of services with organizations that Life work with, is that they feel alone, they feel isolated, they feel like they're the only ones that are going through this. And so we worked with across our three communities in Racine, Kenosha, and Milwaukee, and really tried to come up with a regional issue that was impacting moms across each of those three communities, and it was perinatal depression. And so when we think about perinatal depression, so, we know a lot about postpartum depression, and that's the depression after, giving birth. And we know that like 80% of moms experience postpartum depression, better known as, the baby blues. Whereas, 10 to 20% that we know of experience that depression, during pregnancy. And that is not talked about a lot. And so moms not really understanding what it is that they're going through or not sure how to identify that. So really this campaign really, one, is to help reduce that stigma, one, to help really kind of look at and identify resources that are out there in the community that can be useful and helpful for moms, and looking at alternative resources are as well, because we know that it's important to, another thing is being totally transparent. Black moms do better when they are receiving services from Black clinicians and Black providers. And so that's just a fact, and that we hear from moms about that. So they fare better with receiving services from those that look like them. And so we are looking at, with this campaign, not only trying to reduce that stigma, but also look at bringing together those resources for moms so that they can feel support, as well as helping to identify those villages that are available through them.
Thank you so much for sharing all this great information, Pat. And when we talk about May being Mental Health Awareness Month. You know, having that conversation is what's so very important. And I know last year you guys held a virtual event that really talked about some of those things that you had mentioned, in particular, dealing with the trauma, which is historical in the Black community. Also, you've got all the data and also the biological impacts of racism. You had guests who came on and really were able to share information to pull all of that together for people to better understand exactly why things are the way they are, and really the work that's being done to change that narrative. So when people go to your website, they can not only see that particular event that took place, but they can also get some other information while there, right?
Correct. So they can learn more about what the Lifecourse Initiative does. But in addition to that website, we also have a website specifically for our Strong Moms, Strong Villages campaign. And that website is strongmomsstrongvillages.org. And there they can look at resources. There are resources there that are available for moms and for families that are dealing with maternal depression.
Yeah, and really a long list of resources, programs, and services that exist. So we thank you for all the work that you do in really helping make a difference right here in our community.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure talking to you. Pat Batemon is the community strategist for the Lifecourse Initiative for Healthy Families in Milwaukee. And for more information on anything that we have discussed, you can again go to their website at lihf.wisc.edu. That is going to do it for today's show. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. As always, I thank you for watching, and I do hope you join us again next week as we take another look at our issues in Milwaukee. Have a great day.